Hello, this is Dr. Badijo, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how to create a feature class in ArcGIS Pro. And this is an exercise that we did in class, and we'll be using the ortho photo that we were using in class to accomplish this exercise. So what I've done already is I've opened up ArcGIS Pro and just opened to a blank document or a blank map. Whatever comes up for the map template, go ahead and click that, and you should see something similar. We're going to use the data that we have on Blackboard, so go back to our Blackboard website. And once you're on the Blackboard website here, you're going to click on Other Resources. And this is where we have our in-class exercise, Creating Vector Data dataset. When you click on that, it'll start downloading here. Once it's completed downloading, you're actually going to have to unzip this file in order to make it something that you can connect to in ArcGIS Pro. So since I have it already saved somewhere else, we're going to go back to ArcGIS Pro, open this up, and we're going to go ahead and connect our folder. So this is after you've already downloaded the data set, and you can go ahead and unzip it. We come over here to folder, we right click, hit add folder connection. I have to look for it in my computer since I have it saved somewhere else. And it looks like it's underneath our actual class folder, and under field day UAV, take two. And I'm going to connect the export folder because I know that it's in there. So you're going to connect to whatever folder that you know you've saved that data set in. It's usually where you have exported that folder, or yeah, where you've exported the data from that download that you had. So here's mine in the export folder. When I open it up, I can see a couple different files in here. You have the ortho TIFF and the DSM TIFF. Let's go ahead and put the ortho photo in there. Just drag it over. And it should actually zoom straight to that ortho photo where it's actually geolocated. So looks like it's in the right place. Here's Terre Haute, and of course Indiana State University campus, and over here where we did our little in-class exercise for flying the drone and capturing the data. So now we have our raster data set, which is this ortho imagery, and we're going to digitize a couple things here. Specifically, we're going to digitize these things here. These are our GCPs. If you want to, you can search around and kind of locate where they are, but you should remember from class where we actually lay these GCPs down. And in case you don't know, GCPs stand for ground control points. As you can see, each GCP has a number. And what I'd like to do is create a feature, or I'd like to create a feature class that records in vector dataset structures basically the geometry of these GCPs and the number in the attribute table as to which number they are. So that's what we're going to get started doing here. What we're going to want to do is actually make a new feature class in our database. So here's our geodatabase. As you can see, you have databases as one of your folders there. Here's your project geodatabase. If you opened up just a blank template, it'll have some sort of database to actually save it into within your entire project. And you can right-click that, go to where it says New, let it open up this next little menu here, and then click on Feature Class. And then it opens up a Feature Class dialog here in the right-hand side, and we can call it whatever we want. So we're going to call it GCP since we're actually going to be creating features that are GCP polygons. And for alias, we'll go ahead and put GCP as well. And for feature class type, since I do want to trace these, I don't want to use point. I don't want to use line. I'm actually going to use polygon. And polygon will actually give me a closed square. And that way I could even, let's say, calculate area on the fly. So we'll keep it as polygon. And we can keep all the rest of these values the same unless we want to make some changes, for instance, here to the fields. If I click here, I can add a new field. Now this is referring to the attribute table that gets attached to our polygon feature that we're going to create. So currently it's going to put an object ID there, shape, but we can add something. Let's say GCP number. Let's call it GCP number. And since it's an actual number, we can choose to make it a short integer, which is actually using a number value instead of a text data type. If we use text data type, then it could be more than just numbers. And since we know for sure that we're never going to use something other than a number, we'll just go ahead and put short integer there. We can hit next. We know it wants to be the geographic coordinate system here, WGS 1984. We'll leave that be. It typically will default there. And we can continue to hit next through these. You could actually skip over and hit finish if you need to. But I just wanted you to kind of scroll through to see what's there. Click finish. And it's creating your new feature class. So now, where it says databases and we open up our geodatabase, you should be able to see a feature class that says GCP or GCPs, whatever you ended up calling it. I think for this one we called it GCP. So I'm going to pull that into our map so that it appears over here on the the left-hand side. And we're going to get started editing this data. So we're going to click here, edit. And as you can see here, after you've clicked the edit tab, a new ribbon opens up here and you have create and modify. If we click on create, over here in the right hand side, you'll see where our GCPs came up or our GCP polygon came up, and we can click that. And as you mouse into the map pane here, the viewing pane, we see a little crosshair. And this means we can actually anchor a vertex at that point, wherever we decide to click. Now the middle mouse button is going to allow us to pan still. So I'm going to click and I'm going to pan to pull that to the center. And I'm going to use my right mouse button to zoom in, or I can use my scroll wheel, whichever you prefer. And then I'm going to place a vertex in each of these corners. And before placing the last vertex in the final corner here, I can either double click it or I can click it and hit finish sketch. So here's what happens when you click and then go down here to actually finish. So you click on this little square. See, this pops up as you're doing some of this editing, so you can kind of go to it as you're editing and use some of these selections they give you, or the options they give you here, but I'm going to hit finish. And there we go. We have a finished feature within this feature class. And if I come up here to the top and click on save, I'm going to save that in, hit yes. And now I can right click here and open up the attribute table just to see. And of course, here we are. We have one object, which is this one I just created. It has shape, shape length, shape area, which is at 0 right now, which we can actually calculate area later on. Then we have GCP number null. That means nothing has been entered in there, and we can change that as well. If you click on it, you can double click and open up that field. We can put in the GCP number. I don't remember what it was, so I'm going to go over here to my contents, unclick up. It looks like it was number 7. Click it again, and then type a 7 in here. Hit enter. Looks like there's now a 7 here in this field, specifically in this record here, record 1. And we can click save here at the top to make sure that that edit is saved in. So anytime you make edits as you're going along, I would come up here where it says save and actually enter in and save what you've done thus far. So here we are, we have GCP 7. We have one of our features actually digitized here. I'm using vector data. So let's do it somewhere else. So we have our raster data set, which is essentially the orthophoto, and we're creating little features that are vector data structures. So here's number 4. This time I'm going to double click to finish this one. There you go. Number 4 is done, and if you have the attribute table still open here in the bottom, you'll see that second record come in. You can double click down here, type in your 4, enter, and then save. Now we have 2 things built within this feature class. And we can continue doing this kind of stuff where we're just creating these. All right, so let's do a couple here. Click the corners, double click the corners here, double click. There we go. Those were 6 and 9, so I did 6 first, so that's going to be this one. But if I was confused as to which one's which, what I could do is highlight it. See how over here in this little gray square, if I click on it, it actually selects that specific feature in my viewing pane. So this one is certainly this square over here to my west, which is number 6, so I'm going to put that in. And the next one that I drew has to be the other one, which was number 9. I can put that in too. Enter and save. So that's all been saved in. Good. All right, something else we can do. Let's see. Let's add a field. So we want to calculate area. Let's go ahead and add area. Let's say meters. No, we didn't. We just call this area for short in terms of its alias. Now, what would we want to use in terms of data type? Let's go with float. Float gives us a decimal place. And format here, numeric. It'll ask us here if we want it, how many decimal places we want this to go out. Let's just go ahead and say 6 just for kicks and hit OK. All right. So are we sure we want to close this pane? No, we don't want to close that pane because we actually want to save it first, and that way it's actually part of our attribute table. So up here at the top, you can see there's a little save. Click on that. Now it's part of the attribute table. Now close out of that now, and we have our new field called area, and all of these records are empty because we haven't done anything to calculate them. But if we right-click area, we can calculate geometry, which will pull something up over here on the right-hand side to help you out with that. So geometry property, area, area geodesic. What's our units? Since these are very small, let's go ahead and do square meters. And our coordinate system, we can pop in there whatever is equal to what our ortho photo is. And we hit run. Notice here that you can actually see that it populated the one that I had selected. It did not populate the other 3, however. So in order to make sure that it populates your whole table, you have to make sure you have deselected everything there. So let's try that. I'm going to hit clear. Everything's unselected now. I can see on my attribute table there's nothing highlighted in blue. And I'm going to run the same thing. There you have it. And so the other 3 populated with an actual value. So we're going to go ahead and close out our attribute table. And that was basically it, a kind of a crash course tutorial on how to create a feature class in ArcGIS Pro and digitizing some features that we can actually see in the orthophoto, which is a raster data set, digitizing them by using polygons, which is our vector data set, and then making sure that our attributes have the proper GCP number, and then calculating area. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.